Hi, this is Mike from Motion Instruments, and in this video we're going to do a bit of a deep dive into the Coach and Data Logger apps. If you haven't seen the introductory video, I recommend seeing that to get a overview of the concept here of these two apps and how they work together. But in this app we're going to dig a little deeper. So on the left I've got the Coach app, on the right I've got the Data Logger. I've just installed the Data Logger from Xcode, so I'm going to show you what that looks like. It's pretty much locked out until the data logger receives a invitation from the coach. So this is what it will look like. There's a little tool icon there that's just in debug mode. Normally the customer would not see that, but that just lets me get into a menu where I can do some testing. Okay, so on the left, we're going to open up the Coach app. And real quickly here, on the bottom you see the Clients tab. That's where we're going to spend most of our time here. This is where you see a list of clients, their bikes, their recordings, all of that gets organized over here. So we're going to start in the top left at the Info button. This is where the coach will set up their own profile. So you'll have the name, email address, and phone number for the coach here. All of this information would get shared with the data logger and get used over in that app. So real simple to get that set up. Here I've got one client set up already. You can see there's 4 recordings that need to be reviewed, and if I just tap in here, you'll see for each customer you'll see there's an email button, so I can easily contact my client this way, either through email or through a text message. And then in the middle you'll see the list of bikes. So right now I've just got one bike, and if I tap on that bike you'll see there's 4 new recordings and one that's already been recorded. You can see with the blue dots. So if I tap on any one of these, it'll just open up that recording and show me all the results. So that's generally how a coach would navigate once they've got a customer set up. But we're going to set up a new customer now, so we're going to tap on plus. And same kind of thing, name, email address, and phone number. So I'm just going to type in the client, give them an email address. This is the email address of the phone that I'm using here today for testing. And this phone actually doesn't have a phone number, so I'm just going to type in something like that. And take a photograph. So I'm just going to take a photograph of the phone. This is just a way for the coach to keep track of their clients. It just makes it easier for them to remember. Okay, so when you have it all set up, hit create, and now I've got a new record. I guess I misspelled it. But now the second step on the coach would be to go into that clients page and set up a new bike. So real quickly I'm going to tap on new bike, and I'm going to walk through these 4 steps. So I'm going to select generic hardtail. I'm going to set up some settings here for that bike: 65-degree head angle, 140 millimeters of travel, and now I'm going to send the invitation to the data logger. So the app generates an email, and what's notable here is there's a hyperlink here in the email that the customer can tap on that. I'll show you that in a second. And then at the bottom there's an attachment with some data about their bike. So just send that off. And you'll notice there's a little mailbox here. When the client opens up the invitation, there'll be a notification sent to the coach, and that mailbox will change. So going back over to the data logger side, I'm going to open up the email. So I'm going to hit that hyperlink, and that just takes me to the App Store, so it's really easy for them to download the app. I've already got it downloaded, so I'm just going to open up this attachment. So tap on that, brings up the share sheet, and I tap on the data logger icon. That opens up the data logger app, which will open up that invitation, which is really just a JSON message with all the data about the coach, name, address, phone number, email address, plus all of the data about the bike, all of the bike settings. That's all in the JSON package. So here on the data logger, it just tells you that we're going to connect to the tracer, sensors, and then we're going to calibrate. So first step is to enable Bluetooth. And as soon as I hit connect, that's going to do a Bluetooth scan, and it's searching for the UUID for the tracer device, and it's also looking for the correct tracer type. So fork tracers are a different type than a shock tracer, and there's different lengths of those tracers. So it is filtering based on the bike data that was sent over. It's looking for a very specific type of tracer. So when I hit connect, it'll scan for nearby devices, and then find the tracer, connect to it, and get it set up. It's got to wake it up. There we go. Once I'm connected, I'm going to hit Calibrate at the bottom. Calibrate basically tells the sensor to start streaming data, and then the user here should follow the instructions. They basically extend the suspension as far as it'll go, and then hit done. Now, if you have a handlebar button, you can connect to that too, but we're just going to skip that for now. And that once we're calibrated, we get back to the main screen. Now, from this point on, the user won't really have to go back into that bike setup, but there is a bike setup button at the bottom, which takes you back to that screen, so you can flip between these two pages. On this bike setup screen, I should point out there's the information about the service provider or coach here near the bottom. I can call them on the telephone, I can send them an email, and I'm going to add text message there as well. Back on the main screen, I'm going to start at the top here. You'll notice the tools icon we talked about before, the record button we'll use in a second, and the cloud. The cloud button takes you to a page that just shows you all of your recordings and their status. We'll show that later. So if you and then a little bit below that, you'll see here we've got a fork with a battery. If you had a shock, you'd see the battery for that too. And then the graph. If I tap on the graph, it starts streaming data from the sensors, and I can use this as a just to make sure that my sensors are streaming data properly. And then at the bottom, the bike setup we talked about, and SAG. So when it hits SAG, the app will tell the tracers to start streaming data again, and the user would just follow the instructions here, get on the bike, and when they get comfortable, hit either the handlebar button if they've got it to set SAG, or set the SAG button here in the app. And the app takes a snapshot of where the sensors are and records that, and that data gets sent along with the recording. Okay, so now we're going to hit record. The first time it's going to ask to use location data. So anytime that the app is recording, we like to record their position and elevation data, and that gets sent along with every recording. So the user can go off, they can turn their phone off, put it in their pocket, go ride for a half hour or whatever, come back into the app and hit stop, and over here in the cloud status, you'll see it said sending. When it's done, it'll say sent. If there's an error, it'll say retry. If there's no network connection at all, you'll see a network status here telling you that. And for each recording on the left, you'll see the name of the recording, which is based off the name of the device, the phone here. It's called iPhone 7 Tester, and the date and account. And then the number below that is just the duration of the recording. So that's what you see there. And over on the coach side, I don't know if you noticed, but a couple notifications came in. And when those notifications come in, the coach app will update the status here. You can see the notification here was new client recording came in, and that the client received their invitation. So those notifications are being driven by the data logger, making updates to a data record in iCloud. So on iOS, that's done through the iCloud SDK. On Android, you can use a REST API to update those records in iCloud. Either way, when the iCloud record gets updated, that triggers an APNS notification to the coach. Okay. And then now you can see, if I go back to the main screen, you'll see the new client has one recording. Tap on that, tap on their bike, and you'll see here's the new recording. Tap on that, and it will load the data, which isn't too interesting because not much happened in this recording, but that's the general process. So I think that covers the data logger. Bike setup, recordings, and status. I should note here that the data logger needs to be designed so that the user is going to be out on the trails. It's very likely that they won't have cell coverage at all, or maybe very poor. So these recordings need to be stored locally, and there needs to be a queuing system to upload these recordings when there's a good solid connection. The queuing mechanism gets triggered, or a new recording gets added to the queue, and when recording status or when network status is down, the queuing mechanism stops, and when its network status goes good, it starts up again, and there's retries, if the recording fails, and so on. So that's an important part of the data logger. Okay, I mean that's about it for this video. Thanks for watching.